Good evening. Welcome to This Week in Turkey. The Supreme Board of Elections announced the official list of the presidential candidates running for the June 24th elections this week.
Approaching the June 24th presidential and parliamentary snap elections, the Turkish Election Board announced the official list of the presidential candidates. The Turkish Election Board declared that the Good Party leader Meral Akşener, Felicity Party leader Temel Karamollaoğlu, and Vatan Party leader Doğu Perinçek, who all collected the required 100,000 signatures for candidacy, could participate in the elections along with President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan, main opposition CHP candidate Muharrem İnce, and HDP candidate Selahattin Demirtaş. Meanwhile, with 44 days remaining until the elections, the candidates have started their election campaigns. The leader of the ruling AKP, President Erdoğan, announced his election manifesto, vowing to strengthen social justice in every sphere of life. Our priority will be to establish the institutional structure of justice, and in this way, to establish social justice in every field, Erdoğan said. AKP will announce its candidates for the upcoming parliamentary elections on May 25th. CHP's presidential candidate İnce kicked off his campaign with back-to-back meetings with President Erdoğan, Good Party candidate Akşener, and HDP candidate Demirtaş. İnce also announced that he will be meeting with the remaining candidate Perinçek in the upcoming days. In a rally in Hakkari, İnce promised to solve the country's Kurdish issue through peace, growth, and sharing. Meanwhile, the 15 lawmakers who had resigned from CHP to join the Good Party to ensure the latter's participation in the elections have returned to the CHP after the Good Party's participation was secured. CHP is also expected to announce its election manifesto on May 25th. HDP's imprisoned candidate Selahattin Demirtaş also started his campaign by unveiling his plans for pensioners, women, and youth if elected president. Demirtaş noted that the biggest problem for the country's youth is the deepening poverty. Ending poverty and inequality of opportunity will unleash the potential of youths. In the meantime, Good Party leader Meral Akşener revealed her party's economic program. Akşener vowed to restructure the debts of 4.5 million Turkish citizens worth 8 billion liras through a project called the Turkey Solidarity Fund. We will purchase the debts from consumer loans, credit card, and overdraft accounts of 4.5 million citizens whose debts are under legal supervision of banks or consumer financing companies and whose debts have been sold to collection companies as of April 30th, 2018, Akşener said.
Main opposition Republican People's Party, CHP's presidential candidate Muharrem İnce started his election campaign this week.
Turkey's main opposition, Republican People's Party, CHP, nominated one of its most prominent MPs last week to challenge President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan in the upcoming June 24th snap presidential elections. In a report published last week, Reuters described İnce as a combative opponent against Erdoğan. An MP from the northwestern province of Yalova, Muharrem İnce is a former physics teacher. In February, İnce had also challenged Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu for the CHP chair. İnce was born in Yalova in 1964 to a family of diverse origins. His paternal grandparents were Muslim immigrants from Thessaloniki, while his maternal grandparents originated from the Black Sea coast of Anatolia. He graduated from the Physics-Chemistry department of the Faculty of Education at Balıkesir University. Later, he worked as the head of press for the Yalovaspor Football Club. He was elected as president of the Atatürkist Thought Association, a popular secular organization which promotes the ideas of Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, the founder of modern Turkey. He was elected 4 consecutive times in 2002, 2007, 2011, and 2015 as a CHP MP for his hometown. For 2 terms, he was the CHP's parliamentary group deputy chairman. Following the party's loss in the Turkish presidential election in 2014, İnce declared his candidacy for CHP chairmanship in the 2014 Extraordinary Party Convention against the current chairman, Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu, resigning from his deputy leader position. Addressing thousands of CHP supporters in Ankara, where he was introduced as the CHP's presidential candidate, İnce had said, "I will be everyone's president, a non-partisan president. The depressing times will end on June 24th. In a meeting with civil society representatives today in the Black Sea province of Trabzon, İnce vowed that he will never use presidential powers granted by the 2017 referendum on constitutional amendments in the event that he gets elected as president. There are vast powers given to the president, but I will not use them. I will be afraid to," İnce said. For example, a single person decides on how to plan the budget of 81 million Turkish citizens. Can there be such a system? When I become president, I will not use the authority to plan the budget. I will do it with the parliament, with 600 lawmakers. When I become president, God willing, I will work and ensure not to discriminate anyone, İnce added.
This week, we'll focus on the CHP candidate Muharrem İnce's presidential election campaign. And our guest via Skype tonight will be Nilden Bayazıt Postalcı, who is a CHP member joining us from Trabzon. Good evening, Mrs. Postalcı. Welcome to This Week in Turkey.
Thank you. Good night.
So today, a few hours ago, in fact, you were at İnce's campaign rally in Rize, which is an important city as it's the hometown of İnce's mother and also President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan. What were your impressions at the rally today?
Well, actually, we as members of CHP were very enthusiastic about this rally in Rize because, as you know, Rize is also the hometown of Recep Tayyip Erdoğan. And it's one of the cities who get the highest points in the elections. But today, first in the morning, Muharrem İnce met with the local media agencies and NGOs. And then he moved to Rize, which is about 1 hour, which takes about an hour. And the rally in Rize was crowded. It was more than 70,000. There were more than 70,000 people in the area, which the local people said it's a very, very high amount for CHP. And they said they have never seen such a bigger amount of people attending the CHP rally in Rize. Also, we should remember that it's a time when the people of Rize is on the fields collecting teas. So the people of Rize were not expecting so many people, but I think the CHP
Mrs. Postalcı, can you hear me? Looks like there's been a problem with our connection. Mrs. Postalcı,
Hello?
Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes.
Okay, we can hear you now.
Okay.
So actually, let's continue talking about today's rally in Rize, Mrs. Postalcı. There have been reports of pro-AKP provocations at today's rally. Can you tell us what happened?
Well, it happened towards the end of the rally, which took about Mr. İnce talked about 45 minutes, and towards the end of his speech, we heard some shoutings near the area. And then we learned that there were a group of 40 people shouting that they don't want terrorists in the city and that the terrorists should leave the city as soon as possible. I think they were referring to to İnce's previous meeting, previous rally in Hakkari, which is known as a Kurdish city. But the police covered the. I mean, I think they arrested some of the provocators. And İnce, at the end of speech, said that no one can judge his nationalism and his secularism, and that's how he ended his speech.
So, thank you, Mrs. Postalcı. Let's now talk a bit in detail about Muharrem İnce's candidacy and what it means. for the CHP. So what, in your opinion, is the meaning of him becoming the presidential candidate of the main opposition, CHP, and how is it received within the party? How do you see it as a CHP member?
I should say that the CHP party, first of all, I should state that the CHP members, almost all the members of CHP party took this candidacy with pride and with great joy. And there are several reasons to that. The first one refers to our previous candidates in the previous presidency elections, which was Ekmelettin İhsanoğlu, who is known to be a conservative and who is known to be a figure from the right wing. And I was attending some of the rallies of Ekmelettin İhsanoğlu during that time, and you could clearly see the lack of energy they had in the CHP, among the CHP members who were going around with them. But this time, Muharrem İnce is a very important political figure in CHP because he's been working in the party since he's 16, and he always states that. And he's been in the parliament for about, I think, maybe more than 10 years, more than 3 terms. So he's both very professional political figure, and he's also known to be a very good social democrat, a good secularist, and he's also capable of. He's a very good political speaker. He's one of, I think it's my opinion, he's one of the best political speakers in CHP. So, he's very energetic, and I can see that on stage he's very motivated. And he knows the public's reflexes very well, as he's been in the politics for a very long time. So CHP is expecting a lot from Muharrem İnce.
Mm-hmm. And as you know, Mr. İnce held a meeting with President Recep Tayyip Erdogan on Wednesday that's been talked about a lot. Can you tell us your take on this meeting? How do you evaluate it?
Well, it was a very, very good gesture. A gesture we have not seen in the politicians in Turkey for a very long time. Once Muharrem İnce's presidency candidacy has been announced, one of the first things he said that he will meet with all the candidates, which he did. He also visited one of the candidates, Selahattin Demirtaş, which is in prison. And right after Demirtaş, he asked for a meeting from the President Erdogan. We don't know what they talked, but he announced that it was he just wanted to make a kind gesture, and he wanted to bring the kindness to Turkish politics again.
Mrs. Postalcı, thank you very much for your comments and from your impressions from today's rally in Rize. We'll continue with our next news video now. More than 1 million Twitter users tweeted the Turkish word tamam on Tuesday, following a speech in the parliament by President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, promising to step down if the people wanted it.
More than 1 million Turks piled onto social media to call time on President Recep Tayyip Erdogan on Tuesday, making the word tamam, or enough in English, a worldwide trending topic on Twitter, after Erdogan stated that he promised to step down if the people wanted it. If one day our nation says enough, then we will step aside, he said in a speech in the parliament. Soon after the speech, the tamam hashtag swept across Turkish language Twitter, then became a global trending topic. Devam, another hashtag created by pro-Erdogan supporters, which means go on in Turkish, only reached less than 300,000 tweets within the same period. Opposition leaders and Erdogan's rivals in the presidential race also jumped in. The tamam tweets shared by the main opposition Republican People's Party CHP leader Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu and presidential candidate Muharrem İnce, Selahattin Demirtaş, Meral Akşener, and Temel Karamollaoğlu together garnered more than 100,000 retweets. Social media has become the primary platform for opposition against the government in Turkey, where traditional media is saturated with coverage of Erdogan and his ministers. Erdogan's speeches, usually 2 or 3 a day, are all broadcast live on major channels, while opposition parties get little to no coverage. The government, however, dismissed the social media wave, which had accumulated close to 1.5 million posts by Tuesday night, saying it is sponsored by foreign powers. Most are being sent from countries where the FETÖ and PKK are active. Most are bot accounts, said AKP spokesperson Mahir Ünal. The keyboard heroes who don't know what the ballot boxes mean, we will see each other on the night of June 24th, Ünal wrote on Twitter. Several people also took to the streets across Istanbul, some spelling out tamam with candles on pavements and roads. In the Kadıköy district, 10 demonstrators were detained, but were later released after questioning. Prominent AKP officials subsequently condemned the campaign as a foreign-backed plot. The attacks via social media bots will not come up with any results. We consider reality, not the virtual world. We believe our nation will say continue instead. It is not important for us. Citizens will have the last word in the polls, presidential spokesperson İbrahim Kalın said in a press conference on May 9th. Arguing that the posts aim to topple Erdogan from power, Deputy Prime Minister Bekir Bozdağ also said power comes from polls, not from Twitter.
Yalçın Karatepe from Ankara University's Department of Economics commented on the recent performance of the Turkish economy for Medyascope this week.
Our indicators have gone so out of hand that it's possible to say that there is no economic policy being pursued in Turkey at the moment. They're trying to get over with the election period by keeping the economy alive with palliative measures right now. But while we are trying to get this over with, the outside world is seeing a bleak picture when they look at us. How do we know that the picture is bleak? Most recently, Standard & Poor's downgraded Turkey's rating to the junk territory. Therefore, Turkey is attractive neither to foreign investors nor domestic ones. This is why all the indicators have gone out of hand. You can't expect the currency of an economy like this to be strong. The main reason behind this sudden increase in the exchange rates is not only about Turkey's macro indicators getting out of hand, but also due to the political climate it's in, and also about the global context, which is against the emerging markets at the moment. So everything is against us right now. For this reason, I think the increase in the exchange rates will continue for a while. Whoever comes into power after the elections, I think they will have to take very harsh economic measures. I predict that interest rates will go up significantly, public spending will be cut down, and serious tax regulations will be introduced.
The parliament passed a bill on Wednesday to split up 10 existing universities.
Turkey's parliament passed a controversial bill on Wednesday to establish 20 new universities by splitting up existing ones. According to the legislation, 15 of the new universities will be established by the breaking up of 10 existing universities. Among those to be splitted are Istanbul University, whose roots are traced back to the 15th century, Gazi University in the capital city of Ankara, Anadolu University in the central Anatolian province of Eskişehir, İnönü University in the eastern province of Malatya, and Karadeniz Technical University in the Black Sea province of Trabzon. The move had been widely seen as an attack on the independence of Istanbul University, which has a total of 80,000 students and 12 campuses. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan had previously claimed that several leading public universities were showing signs against Turkish values. Hundreds of staff members and students at Istanbul University had carried out weeks-long protests, arguing that the aim was to manage the universities through a divide-and-rule policy. Professor Raşit Tükel, head of the Turkish Medical Association, had earlier said, "What they are doing is tearing apart historical ties, abolishing shared values, and cutting off routes to control universities more easily." Tükel is also a faculty member at the Cerrahpaşa School of Medicine, which is due to be separated from Istanbul University. Students and university staff in the Turkish capital of Ankara have also held demonstrations against the bill. Moreover, Mert Savrun, vice president of Istanbul University, has resigned from his post over the proposals.
Now let's take a look at what's on in Istanbul next week.
British musician Jake Bugg will be on Babylon's stage tonight and tomorrow as part of Garanti Caz Yeşili. He has 4 studio albums under his name and countless festival slots under his belt, including Glastonbury. Jake Bugg has released 4 highly acclaimed albums, which have all made the top 10 in the UK. For his latest, Hearts That Strain, Bugg flew to Nashville to record with some of the best players in the history of popular music. Mars Istanbul will be hosting the exhibition Metaphorical Space until June 3rd, featuring works by Ala Alhasun, Keyvan Karimi, Louis Henderson, Sibel Horada, Metehan Özcan, Neriman Polat, Özge Topçu, Pınar Öğrenci, and Selini Halvadaki. Space is a conjunctive for thinking about politics. It can feed various spatial images into diverse political sensibilities, and metaphor deploys a creative image capacity by stripping the images from their original meaning to narrate in a different way. A good reason to think about politics through space is the impositions of systems of domination on spatial and temporal structures and the appearance of space as a tool of control.
That's all from This Week in Turkey. Thanks for tuning in and hope to see you again next Friday at 9 p.m. Goodbye.